Welcome, GCSC teachers. Chances are you are probably here because you have chosen to take the Advanced Google Slides mini course, or you are taking the larger professional development course, the 3-hour course that focuses on all of the apps of the Google Productivity Suite. Either way, welcome, and hopefully you will be provided with some information that will be useful for you and will make your life and your use of Google Slides easier. First of all, just a quick review for those who have taken any of my classes focused on Google Docs or Google Drive. There's been some mention of the cloud, and I will just very briefly review that. Basically, the cloud is the internet. It's where our documents are stored when we use Google Docs and Google Drive, and you can open a document you can create a document and open it on any device, on any platform. They work anywhere, anytime. Very quick summary of the cloud, but important, I think, if we are studying Google Docs and Google Drive. The name Google Docs can be confusing for a lot of people, and I understand that because Google Docs is really two separate entities within the same thing. So we have Google Docs, which are all of the suite of Google productivity apps. That is Forms, Drawing, Slides, Docs itself, and Sheets. And generally when people say Google Docs, they're talking about the entire suite of products. However, if you're talking about a word processing application, that is Google Docs as well, and those are just the documents. So that can be confusing for people. So if I say Google Docs, in fact, I probably mean Google Slides. Not probably, in this presentation I do mean Google Slides, because I know that they are used interchangeably. So it can be a little confusing for people in that they both have the name Google Docs for all 5, and then Google Docs itself has that name too. You know, if you think of Microsoft, we have Office, and then Word is a product within Office. It would be as if they were both called Microsoft Office, but then you had PowerPoint and Excel and all of those other products as well. So just a little confusing, but hopefully not too bad. In this presentation, I'm going to go over several things that I think will hopefully increase your productivity and enhance your use of Google Slides. If you have not used Google Slides a lot, think of it as a combination of Microsoft PowerPoint and an interactive website. These are two very important features of Google Slides. It's a presentation software, but it also is a little bit more interactive than Microsoft is. So I'm going to go through a few presentation building features that will help you build presentations. Hopefully they'll be a little bit more interesting or engaging for you and for your students. I will cover templates, themes, backgrounds, transitions, image maskings, and explore. And then I will also cover 2 features that will hopefully allow you to present a little bit more efficiently. Those are the presentation enhancing features that are presenter mode and how to publish as a self-playing website. So those are the features that will be covered in this video. Just as a reminder, if you have taken a class before, I've talked about these things, but Google Apps, all the Google apps are device agnostic. I started using Google Apps and Google Drive back in about 2007, and things that I created then are still on my drive, still in the same folders, in my personal folders, and I do not have to worry about changing those, upgrading them when a new version comes out. Google does all that automatically. So I've had several laptops across that time frame. They've all worked. So if we were to go with a new device other than the iPad, your Google Docs are safe. They are not going to change. If you have things on Pages, if you have them on Keynote, if you have them on Word, you have them on Excel, that is not true. That's why Google Docs is our preferred productivity suite here at Greencastle Community Schools. Just a reminder, if you are taking this course as a mini course, at the end of the video you can click in the linked section down in the description of the YouTube video, and you can take the quiz and you can earn your mini badge. That badge will be specific for Google Slides. If you are taking this as part of the larger 3-hour professional development course, you can continue on in your course, and after your project is finished, then you will get a badge that will certify you as an advanced user in all of the Google Docs suite of apps. Okay, hopefully that's a quick overview, but hopefully that will help you out, and also the real world practice that is coming up will hopefully give you some idea and some examples that will make life in your classroom a little bit easier. I'm going to escape out of this, and then I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, as with all the Google Docs apps, there are 2 ways you can start. You can go to drive.google.com, or you can go to, in this case, slides.google.com, and I can start from there. Either way is fine. Slides gives you a little bit more version of the templates to start from. I personally like to start from Drive because if I want to start something in a folder, I can click on that folder and I can start it in that folder and I know where it's going. I like the organization factor of that. Some people do, some people don't. It's up to you. I'm going to start from Drive because that's where I like to start from. If you feel more comfortable starting with Slides, we're going to end up at the same place eventually. You'll just have to organize yours after the fact. That's fine. No problem with that at all. So to get a slide from Drive, I'm going to go to New, and then I'm going to go to Google Slides, and it's going to open just a generic blank white slide. And that's fine. If I would rather have a template to choose from, I can do that. So in order to access the template from here, I'm going to go to File and then New again, but this time I'm going to go from Template. And when I do that, it's going to pop up and take me back to a very similar page to where I just was, minus all the other files that I had. And you can see there are a lot of options here for templates. There are templates for education because Google focuses a lot on education. There are some for work, and then there are some for personal life as well. So I am going to choose one of these just for demonstration purposes, and I'll choose the general presentation. And once I do that, it's going to take me to the template that I just created. A couple of things here. Notice that I have a number of slides, and most of these slides represent all of the possible layouts. So if I click the down arrow here next to the plus button, which is where I would normally add a slide, there are all the possible layouts for a slide in this presentation and really in all presentations that are there. And you can see this theme has put one of each of those slides in there, basically is what they have done. I'm not going to need this many slides, so I can delete some of those later on. For now, I'll leave them for demonstration purposes. If I wanted to change the layout of one particular slide, I would simply left click on that slide and then right click on it, and then I would go to apply layout and I would choose the layout that I wanted instead of the layout that is there. After that, I'd like to draw your attention over here to the themes section, which is the toolbar on the right. And themes allows you to keep the templates you have but change the color and the layout and the font. And so basically it allows you to customize the colors a little bit more than what the template does. And so if you wanted to choose one of these, you could choose that. If you wanted to leave it as is, you could leave it that way. I'm going to choose one. I'm going to choose this one here called Beach Day because it kind of looks like writing on the chalkboard to me. So here I have Beach Day. I obviously have a generic title, I have a subtitle, all those things I would change as I'm working on my presentation. But I have those that are available for me right now. Let's say though that I like the writing because it looks like chalkboard writing, but let's say I want to make this more of a green castle theme and I want to change that color. The way you would go about doing that is you would click on background, and from here you would choose the color. And obviously if I were choosing a green castle theme, I would want to choose somewhat of a purple background, but I don't want to overpower the rest of my presentation, so I'm going to click light purple here. Now, very important step, if I hit done, it's simply going to apply it to one of the slides that I've selected. Notice that it just does it to one slide there. However, if I go back to background and I hit add to theme, it's going to change all of the slides in the presentation. So if you want to change all of them, you will have to make sure that you hit add to theme. Some people would like to have a picture as their background. You can certainly do that. You just simply go to background again, and then you go to image and then choose, and you can choose your image by uploading one from your computer, by adding a URL, by going to your Google Drive, or by searching on the internet. I'm not going to add that because I think it's going to be a little bit busy for the demonstration I'm doing, but you're certainly free to play around with that as you work and create some of your own examples. And that is found in background as well. I can also change the layout of a slide from here as well. That's another option, just to the right of background. So I have two ways. I can click on a slide and right click and go to apply layout, or I can go to layout up here, which is true of most, I would say, office type productivity suites. You have multiple ways of doing something. It's not just one way. Okay, so I have my theme selected. I'm going to close that out so I have a little bit more room to work. And I talked about backgrounds. The next thing that I want to show you, I'm going to cut this down to just a couple of slides because really I'm only going to need 2 or 3 slides for the demonstration that I'm going to do. So I'm going to delete, and I can do that again 2 ways. I can right click and I can hit delete slide, or I can simply hit the delete button on my keyboard, which is what I'm doing now. And I'm going to cut that down to, let's say, 3 slides. On this slide, I want a layout that is going to be both text and allow me to have a picture because that's what I want to do. So I'm going to hit 1 column text, and that will allow me space to put a picture over on the right side. One of the neat features of Google Slides is something called image masking, which is a neat feature that is found in other programs, but I think this is one of the easier ways to do image masking. So let's say, just for my example here, I am going to give a presentation on Bob Dylan's Highway 61 Revisited, which is very appropriate because Dylan just won the Nobel Prize for Literature. And I misspelled revisited there, I see. Okay, so I'm going to right click on that and fix it. And I'm going to put my name here as the presenter. Okay, so I have my title, I have my subtitle, my presenter name. I'm going to move on to the second slide. Okay, let's say that I want to go and I want to grab a picture of the actual Highway 61. I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to go to Search. And if you have not used this feature before, just as a reminder, Google will allow you to search the commons, basically the public things that are in public domain. That's what I'm looking for, to search for items that are usable. So I'm going to search for Highway 61. It's hard typing under pressure. And when I get to Highway 61, one of the first things I see is a map of Highway 61. So I'm going to select that, and it's going to go into my slide. Obviously, it's too big for my slide right now, and so I'm going to resize that simply by grabbing it right here and moving that. And while I'm doing that, if you're not familiar with Highway 61 Revisited by Dylan, it's one of the great albums of all time, and was Dylan's attempt to make a connection to the fact that he was born in Duluth, Minnesota, at the very northern end of Highway 61, but some of the people, the great Americana and blues musicians that he admired, came from New Orleans and from the Mississippi Delta and up through Memphis, and he thought it was interesting and coincidental that these people who had really influenced him all lived along the same road, but at a different end of America. So really one of the great albums of Americana and rock music. Anyway, I won't get sidetracked on that because it's not the point of my presentation. I just wanted to do a demo and I thought it was appropriate and easy to grab pictures for. Okay, so let's say that I really want to accentuate this picture. I can do a couple of things. I can crop. I can find that by clicking on the crop menu right here. I'm sure most of you have cropped pictures before, and I can drag and I can move this out and in, and then I can left click and get rid of that however I want. And if I don't like that, if it's too big, I can always go back to my original. It's going to keep the picture there simply by left clicking and dragging back out. No worries there. The image masking feature is just to the right of the crop. I can click the down arrow here, and then if I really want to draw attention to the area, I could put a shape around that. So like, let's say I wanted to make it just the rounded rectangle like Apple has. Okay, that's cool. It definitely enhances the look of the picture a little bit, but it does not necessarily, draw a whole lot of attention to that. I could always put a border around it by simply selecting the line, and I can change the thickness of that border by clicking to the right of that. So again, I got there by clicking the pencil tool and then choosing just black as an outline, and then the weight of the outline I wanted. I could also, if I wanted to do a dashed line or something else, if I wanted to do that. Now, to make this stand out a little bit more, image masking, you can do things like callouts. And okay, here's a call out, and that shows part of the US, but it doesn't show Highway 61 very well. So if I double click on this, so this part can be a little tricky. I can move there we go. I can move the image around and recenter it how I want within my image mask. So now I have, Highway 61 really is in the center of my little starburst and my call out there. So people who are watching my presentation could see where Highway 61 is and follow along with that. So again, to do that, of course, I was on the picture and I clicked and I masked the image with a shape. It could be whatever shape you wanted. And then I double clicked on the image and I can readjust and recenter the image within the masking that I've created. So that's a neat feature of Google Docs, Google Slides in particular, I guess, that I like a lot, that I think can be useful in the classroom. And that is called image masking. It's found right next to the crop area. Works on any picture, anything that you've put in. It looks like a drop-down arrow there, but you simply hit mask, and you can put anything there. If you're a math teacher and you want to put something inside your equations, you could do that. It's right there for you. Okay, a couple of things that I would like to point out that are pretty standard in most of the Google suite of apps, but just in case you didn't know, you can share a presentation with someone. So sharing a presentation, you could do it one of two ways. You could make them a collaborator. So if you have a team of people who are working on a presentation, you can certainly give them the privilege to edit the presentation, and that way all of you could work on the presentation. Let's say you had a group of teachers who were getting ready to present to the school board or something, you all wanted to work on it, you could do that. That's certainly one way. Another way is if you just wanted to share it with someone who could view it. Obviously, then you can share your presentation as just a way to disseminate information to people And to get that to them through their viewing only, they wouldn't have any editing privileges, but they could view and watch your presentation. So there's a couple different ways that sharing comes in very useful here that are a little bit different than some of the other. Kind of a quick summary of the share feature that can be found in Google Docs that is useful in slides as well. Okay, another interesting feature of Google Slides are the fact that it allows you to add transitions and animations. And I know lots of people really like those because they can accentuate certain items of a presentation. So just to do that, I'm going to create a little text here, and I'm going to overview of Highway 61 revisited. Okay, I'm going to resize that, grabbing there. Okay, and I'm Dylan released. It's really hard to spell under pressure. August of 65, and I'm going to say how I made a connection between Dylan's birthplace, Duluth, Minnesota, and the Mississippi Delta. Okay, so just a couple of basic facts there about Highway 61 revisited. Let's say I want to add, that's misspelled revisited again. Okay, makes me resize my title there. Okay, so I'm just going to make this a 2-slide presentation. I'm going to get rid of that one. So I have my introduction slide, and then I have my basic information here. Let's say I wanted to add a transition. I'm simply going to click on transition. I have two sort of transitions that are nested here under the transition title. I have slide transitions, which obviously are going to transition between the first and second slide. I can choose one of those if I want. So let's say I want to flip, and I want that to be a medium speed. I can click right here. If I leave it as is now, it's only going to apply to this slide, which shouldn't make much difference in a 2-slide presentation. But I would want it, if I want it to be on all slides, I would hit apply to all slides. And let's say I have an object I want to animate. I'm going to click the plus button here, and let's say I want that to spin when it comes in, and I want to do that fast. I can have that right there. And now I'm going to hit play and see what my presentation looks like. Okay, there's my title slide. Flips over to my secondary slide. If I think that's too slow or too fast, I can simply go back here and I can adjust the speed. Let's speed that up a little bit. And then on the spin, let's slow that down a little bit, and we'll play it this time. And notice that there's a little red bookmark right here that kind of shows me where I'm at in the sequence. Obviously, there's only 2 of them in this case, so it doesn't really make much difference. But if I had 10 or 12 transitions, it certainly would make a difference. And there, I can spin it again on the click, and I am going to, let's say I want to get rid of that one altogether. I can just delete it out right here. Oh, I hit stop first. Then I can delete it out right here. And if I don't like that transition, I can add another animation in. I can do whatever I want basically with animations and transitions. And see, I can fade these in, click them. I can do it by paragraph. I can do it by line of text on my text. There's lots of different options you can play around with here in terms of animation and transitions. But again, similar to what you would expect to see in PowerPoint, but just a little bit different in how they're done. And I like the bookmark feature where it shows you how they're progressing through the levels. One last feature that I will show you here in the presentation building section, and that is the Explore feature. So if I click down here in the lower right-hand corner, there's Explore. Notice Google is going to actually give me layouts that it is auto-created from what I have written and what I've created. So if I like one of these and I think that they're really interesting and I want to include that one, I can do that. So I kind of like this one here where it has the map in gray and the text is a little bit wider and a little bit more prevalent. My title might have to be resized because I think it's a little bit small, or I might have to rework the font of that a little bit perhaps because it doesn't quite fit in there, and I'm not sure I like the revisited on the next line. So let's say I make that a 24. Okay, maybe it's a little small now, but I have it all on the same line. And if I like that layout, I can keep that layout, of course. Obviously, it's going to change my theme a little bit because I'm not going to have that purple on there that I had from the Green Castle theme. But these are suggestions that Google just automatically creates based on what you have entered. So if you have 2 or 3 pictures here and you have some text, you can create a layout that Google thinks is kind of the most efficient or the most visually appealing based on presentations people have created over the years, I believe, is how they do this, and just having a massive database of presentations. So that's a quick overview of some of the features that are a little bit more advanced in Google Slides that you may not have been aware of. So I've covered those, and now I'm going to spend the last few minutes covering two presentation techniques. So I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to name this, instead of general presentation, I'm going to call it my Dylan presentation. And I'm going to close out of that. So when I would go back, I would know what I had saved. I'm going to exit out of the blank one that I had. And just for the demonstration of this, I'm going to go back to the original slide just for demonstration purposes only. Obviously, I'm not going to go through that material again. I'm going to drag this off the screen, actually, because these features that I'm going to show you are great when you are using extended mode. So where you would have the presentation for the students out on the projector or out on the smartboard, and you would have something else visible on your computer. I guess before I do that, I should show you this, and that is when you go to present, there's an option called presenter mode here, and that's how I get that to come out. And so now that I have that, I'm going to drag this off the screen. There we go, so it's not too cluttered and busy. So what this does, presenter mode, presenter view actually, is a great little tool, and it does several things. It tells me right up here, okay, this large slide is the slide that I'm on right now. And if I go back in my presentation, you obviously can't see me going back on my projector, but it shows me the slide that I'm on right here. It shows me what was the previous slide, shows me what was the next slide, it shows me how long I've been talking since I started this session. If I get asked a question, I can pause that. This comes in really handy if you'd be doing a professional presentation, but it also comes in handy for students. Really cool feature called Audience Tools. I can hit Start New. If I do that, it's going to automatically detect that I have created a new session, and on my presentation over here, I apologize, I should have not drug that off the screen. Okay, presenter view, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to start a new session. Okay, it tells me right here is a web address that students can submit, or anyone who's watching this presentation can submit a question, and it's a very easy website to get to. It's not a long one to type in. So I turn that on, and right here at the top of my presentation, it automatically includes this bar, and it also includes a link. So if students had been shared this and they could view it, and this was turned on, they could have it on their iPad, they could be looking at it, they could click on that link, they could open it up and submit a question. So that's a cool feature as well. I'm going to drag this off the screen again so it's not cluttered here. And go back to presenter mode. There we go. Now, so questions will appear here. So I clicked on the question, and so this is an example question. And if I want to ask that anonymously, I can. That could come in handy for students who are shy but don't want to ask something in class. They can ask it anonymously. I hit submit. As the teacher, or as the person running the presentation rather, I am going to see that question over here. And I see what I've typed in this case as an example. Now, if I'm a student in the class and they're like, oh, that's a great question, but I hadn't asked it yet, I can just up the vote here like I did, like you would like something on Facebook. So there's a way that students can vote and see which question they want to have answered. So as the presenter, I'm going through class and I'm like, oh, 5 people have this question. I obviously need to stop and answer that question. Really cool feature that Google Slides has that PowerPoint does not have. I love this feature. I think it has so many uses in the classroom, and I think it would be great for students who are a little reluctant to ask those questions, but they might be really, really important questions that the whole class is trying to figure out. And the more votes you get, the more you see that students really want that question answered. So one more time, just to get there, just a quick recap of that is I have my presentation. I would go to present, and then I would go to presenter view, and I would probably drag this presentation off the screen. So I would have that on my projector, or it would project on my whiteboard or my smartboard or whatever. I go to Audience Tools. I can continue a recent session if I want, or I can hit Start New. I turn on Accepting Questions. This web address will be displayed at the top of my presentation. Students can either type that in, or if they have the presentation that they are looking at on their computer, then they can just click on it directly. They can, and then type in a question. Once they type in a question, they have the answer. Sorry, they don't have the answer. You have it pop up in front of you, and students can vote. And once they vote, you can see how many people have voted for that question. and how many times they would like to have that question answered. So I can vote it up or I can vote it down. If I think it's a silly question, it can be voted down. If I think it's a really important question, it can be voted up. And the students will have that option, and you will have the ability to see what they're saying and asking about your presentation. Really cool feature. The other feature is speaker notes. Actually, I didn't mention this earlier, so I'll touch on that when I exit out. Speaker notes are found within the presentation itself. So back on the presentation here, for each slide, you can type notes down here that the audience will not see, but you would see them in that speaker notes area. So some really cool features of presentation view that I think will come in handy if you want students to be able to ask questions in class. Okay, so that's presentation view. One more thing is how to publish your web page, sorry, not your web page, how to publish your presentation as a self-playing web page. In order to do that, I would go to File, I would go Publish to the Web, and how often do you want the slides to advance? I'm going to leave that at 3 seconds. I'm going to start the slideshow as soon as the player loads, and I'm going to restart it after it ends, and I'm going to hit Publish. Do I want to publish? Yes, I do. It gives me the link. I can copy the link. If this is something I want to share with parents, I could email it out. If I want to share with students, I could share it with them obviously as well. But let's say I've done something really cool and interesting and fun in class. I can share that web address with parents, and I can let them see the things we've done. You can make it so that people have to have a Greencastle Community School Corporation account to log in. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that if you're just sending that out to parents and putting it on your classroom website. So I'm going to open a new tab in my browser. I'm going to paste in that web address, and once I go there, it's going to start playing automatically, and every 3 seconds it should advance, so I can leave this up there. If I want people to go through my presentation, see that presentation, it's there. It's going to play on a continuous loop as long as they are on that website. Obviously, at some point in the future, I'm going to want to stop playing that, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Publish to the Web, except for this time I'm going to hit Stop Publishing. I'm going to be prompted with a warning again, and yes, I do want to stop publishing, and then I will be taken back, and now that website is taken down. Students, parents, whoever had access to that no longer would have access to that. That website no longer exists. Okay, covered a lot. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast, which I know I do sometimes, but if you guys have any questions, certainly feel free to always call me, email me here at school. I would be happy to answer those questions for you and help you out with your technology in any way possible. Otherwise, just a reminder that those of you who are doing the mini course, if you click on the link to the YouTube video down in the description section of this video, you'll be taken to the quiz. You can take the quiz. After the successful completion of the quiz, you will earn your badge. And for those of you who are doing the 3-hour professional development course, you can continue on to the next object in the Canvas course, and then you will shortly be working on your project that will be useful for your classroom. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, best of luck with your technology and have a great day.